Part 2. The Hidden Life and the Predator. The house had become a tomb. Jenna's death had been a cruel, savage act, a message delivered by their rivals. Luca was not grieving. He was petrified into ice. He didn't speak. He didn't sleep. He spent endless hours in his office, barking orders into a phone, his silence louder and more terrifying than his rage. Nazlynn still hated him, but now she pitied him. The monster had been wounded, and that vulnerable moment was enough to soften her resolve. She wanted to help him, an instinct she recognized as dangerous, a terrifying weakness. One night she found him standing by the window, his broad shoulders tense as he stared out at the fortified grounds. His silhouette looked carved from grief and vengeance. She approached slowly, hesitantly placing a hand on his arm. He flinched, turning those cold brown eyes on her. "Don't! She was your sister, Luca," she whispered. "I know it hurts." "She was a casualty, Nazlynn." His voice was gravel, scraped raw. "And my reaction is not pain. It is vengeance. If you feel pity, keep it to yourself. It will only make you another liability." He pulled away, his face returning to its mask of stone. But for a fleeting moment, she saw the truth, the flicker of pain behind the walls he'd built. The fragile truce between them had been born from grief, but the friendship that had tried to grow there withered beneath his fear of attachment. With Luca distant and consumed by the brewing war, Nazlynn withdrew into herself. The mansion became her gilded prison, a luxurious cage echoing with silence. She needed an outlet, someone to scream to, someone who wasn't trapped inside these walls. She dug out her old phone, the one Luca had returned to her during their uneasy peace, and joined an anonymous online forum. There she found a friend, Alice. Alice was breezy, kind, and surprisingly empathetic. Nazlynn told her everything, changing names, calling Luca only her ruthless, controlling boss. Alice listened without judgment, and for the first time since her father's betrayal, Nazlynn felt seen. She knew she shouldn't keep Alice a secret, but Luca would destroy her like he destroyed every fragment of happiness, like he destroyed her moments with Jenna and Elena. This fragile connection was her last thread of sanity, and she refused to let him cut it. Gradually, Nazlynn's focus shifted from Luca to herself. Her body felt heavy, exhausted. The nausea was relentless. She dismissed it as stress, but Maria, her quiet maid, began serving her strange herbal teas and watching her with knowing eyes. One morning, the truth hit her like a physical blow. Standing in the bathroom, she stared down at the small plastic stick in her hand. Positive. I'm pregnant. Tears spilled down her cheeks, not from joy, but from absolute paralyzing terror. Her fingers traced the faint line, trembling. Luca's baby. A new life born into a world steeped in blood and vengeance. The fear she'd once felt for Enzo was nothing compared to the primal, fierce love that now surged through her for this tiny secret growing inside her. She rushed to Maria, clutching the test in her shaking hand. "What do I do, Maria? I can't let this child grow up here." Maria's eyes softened instantly. "You must be strong, Signora. You must be quiet." In that moment, Nazlynn knew what she had to do. The hatred she had buried flared to life again, fierce and necessary. Luca might be her monster, but this child would not become his casualty. That night, she moved like a shadow. She packed a small bag, money, a few clothes, and the test hidden inside a zipper pocket. She left a quick, desperate note for Maria, promising to call once she was safe. Her plan was simple. The guards watched for threats coming in, never imagining someone might try to escape. Heart pounding, she crept down the grand staircase. The main hall was silent. Her pulse thundered in her ears as she reached the service entrance. Her hand hovered over the cold steel handle, freedom just inches away. Just a few steps and this child will be safe. My child will be free. She pushed the door open and stepped into the cool night air, taking a deep, shaky breath of freedom. The moment was brutally short. Before her eyes could adjust to the dark, a massive hand clamped over her mouth, cutting off her scream. A rough cloth pressed against her nose and lips. The metallic scent of the sedative hit her instantly. She struggled, kicking and twisting, tasting the dusty terror of defeat. But the darkness was already closing in. The last sound she heard was a deep guttural laugh, muffled and distant, echoing through the night. Then everything went black. When Nazlynn woke again, the world was agony. She wasn't in a soft, velvet room anymore. She was lying on a cold, concrete floor. The air was thick with dampness, decay, and the acrid stench of cigarettes. She was in a tiny, filthy cell. Her arms were tied painfully behind her back, and her head throbbed so violently that even breathing hurt. A sudden movement sent a wave of nausea crashing through her. The baby. Is the baby okay? Her instincts screamed to protect, to reach for her stomach, but the ropes held her captive. The fear that rose inside her wasn't just terror. It was alive, clawing, choking her from within. They questioned her, not about Luca's empire itself, but about his weaknesses, where he kept his assets, who he truly trusted. She said nothing, her silence as fierce as her heartbeat. Every word unspoken was a shield for the fragile life inside her. The torture wasn't always physical, it was psychological. Sleep deprivation, ice-cold water, mocking voices in the dark. They didn't strike her stomach, but the hunger, the exhaustion, and the fear were enough to threaten both her and the child. "Tell us one thing, Nazlynn," one of them hissed one afternoon, his breath reeking of nicotine. "What is the great Luca Alessandro's weakness?" "He has none." She spat through cracked lips, tasting blood. "He has none, and I will die before I give him one." Back at the mansion, Luca had become a seismic event. When Maria found Nazlynn's note, she called Enzo, who immediately informed him. The result was chaos. The rage that consumed Luca wasn't the cold, controlled fury of a boss losing an asset. It was the unrestrained wrath of a man who had lost his. "Find her!" Luca's roar shook the halls. "Every street, every tunnel, every rival safe house. If you bring me anything less than her, you'll be joining Jenna." His search became a massacre. He tore through the city like a black plague, leaving bodies and blood in his wake. He didn't care about alliances or boundaries. The only thing that mattered was finding the woman he had paid 50 million for, and the life he somehow knew she carried. He was the savior complex incarnate, driven by love he would never admit and fear he couldn't control. It took 48 hours. 48 hours of hell that felt like a lifetime. When the cell door was finally kicked open, light flooded in, blocked almost immediately by a massive silhouette. It was Luca. He didn't speak. His face was a terrifying portrait of controlled savagery, his knuckles still wet with someone else's blood. Without a word, he cut the ropes binding her wrists and lifted her bruised body into his arms. "You are never leaving my sight again." His voice was a promise and a threat, vibrating from deep within his chest. Back at the mansion, the private doctor, already on retainer, was waiting. As she stitched a laceration on Nazlynn's arm, terror flooded back like an open wound. "Doctor," Nazlynn whispered, gripping the woman's hand, eyes wide and pleading. "Please, you must listen. I'm pregnant. About 4 months. You must not tell him. Please." The doctor's expression softened with sympathy. She examined Nazlynn carefully, relieved there were no immediate complications, and promised to keep her secret. But she was gone for less than 20 minutes before the door slammed open again. Luca stood in the doorway, his composure restored, but his dark eyes blazing with something raw and unreadable. "You're pregnant." It wasn't a question. Nazlynn shrank back against the pillows, heart pounding. This is it. The end. He'll be furious that I hid it. Furious that I ran. Furious that I made him weak. "I ran to protect him," she whispered, tears spilling down her cheeks. "I didn't want him in this life, Luca. I didn't want him raised by a monster." Luca walked over slowly, deliberately. He didn't shout. He didn't break anything. Instead, he knelt beside her and placed a large, trembling hand over her belly. "I would burn the city down to protect you and this child." His words shattered every expectation she'd braced for. The anger she feared never came. What followed was tenderness so foreign, it disarmed her completely. He ordered the house stripped of anything that could pose danger. He placed 3 guards outside her door, and later, he brought her a bowl of her favorite soup with his own hands. "I told you your hate was predictable, Nazlynn, and it was safe." His gaze held hers, dark and unyielding. This is neither, but I will not let anything touch you." Nazlynn sat there, speechless, the tension melting into relief, and something far more dangerous. A spark of hope. Maybe, just maybe, she hadn't made a mistake. Maybe this child truly was the key to unlocking the man buried beneath the monster. She was happier than she had been since before the auction. Luca was meticulous. He would study prenatal vitamins, gently remind her to rest, and even read books on infant care in his cold, intimidating study. The coldness was replaced by a protective warmth that felt like a shield against the world. Nazlynn rushed to her phone, bubbling with excitement, and confided in Alice. "He's changed, Alice. He's wonderful. He cares so much. He brought me flowers." Alice's response was immediate and strangely cold. "Flowers? Or a gilded cage, Nazlynn?" Nazlynn frowned. "What do you mean?" "You ran," Alice typed back, her words loaded with manufactured concern. "You ran because he was a monster. Now you're pregnant, and he's showering you with gifts. Do you think that's genuine, or is he ensuring you won't run again?" Nazlynn dismissed it. "No, he's just happy about the baby." "Think, Nazlynn," Alice pressed, using the urgency of a true friend. "This is classic manipulation. He's trying to control your emotions by controlling your environment. Look at the signs. Does he let you leave the house alone? Does he ask you about your friends? Does he criticize your choices?" The questions hit too close to home. He didn't let her leave. He had criticized her past friendships. Alice's words burrowed into her mind like dangerous insects. Was he? The truth was she felt weak, emotionally unstable. As the pregnancy progressed past 5 months, she started experiencing acute depressive episodes. The joy would fade, replaced by a grey curtain of exhaustion and fear. Luca noticed immediately. "You need help, Nazlynn. You need to talk to someone, a professional." She was instantly defensive. "I don't need help, I just need to rest." "No," his voice was firm. "This is not safe for you or the baby. I'm calling a therapist." Her instinct, fueled by Alice's warnings, screamed control. "No. If I go, I choose who I talk to. I'm not talking to one of your people." Luca looked deeply conflicted, then gave a reluctant nod. "Fine, choose, but they must be vetted." Nazlynn immediately told Alice, "He said I can choose. Do you know anyone good? I need someone private, someone who has nothing to do with this world." Alice replied instantly, "Yes, I know the perfect person. Highly discreet, very professional. I'll send you the name and contact information right now." Nazlynn thanked her profusely, relieved that Luca had conceded control. She booked the appointment the next day. The day of the appointment arrived. She dressed carefully, feeling a fragile hope. This was a step back toward her own independence. She provided the security with the name, and they reluctantly allowed her to be driven to the neutral office building. She waited in a sterile lobby, the silence unnerving. The door opened, and a woman, petite and professional, smiled warmly. "Nazlynn Antonio? Please come in. I'm Dr. Vivian." Nazlynn followed her into the soundproof office, a room designed for trust and confession. She sat down, feeling the weight of months of secrets pressing on her chest. "I don't know where to begin," she whispered, the relief of finally speaking to someone outside Luca's influence overwhelming. "Why don't you start with your husband?" Dr. Vivian prompted gently. "Tell me about his movements, his routine. Tell me about the things that truly scare you about him." Nazlynn took a deep breath, the words tumbling out. "He's so careful. He keeps all his devices locked in his safe, but sometimes he leaves his office door open when he's talking to his men, and I hear things. He mentioned an asset ledger in a foreign bank." She continued to talk, pouring out every detail, every fear, every moment of vulnerability Luca had exposed. "That's enough for today, Nazlynn," Dr. Vivian said, her smile broadening slightly. "You've been very brave. We'll continue next week." Nazlynn left the office feeling lighter, believing she had finally found a genuine path to healing. Nazlynn believes she's finally found a savior, someone she can trust, someone who makes her feel safe. But what she doesn't know is that she's being watched, just like a camera capturing its prey. Dr. Vivian may not be who she claims to be. Thank you for watching part 2. Stay tuned for the grand finale, where the truth about Dr. Vivian and Alice is finally revealed. Will Nazlynn's baby survive the storm that's coming? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop your country in the comments below. We love seeing where you're watching from.